Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lainey. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video, we're going to be doing an update to my Panthoseeyeshadows eyeshadow, so if you're interested in seeing that, then just keep on watching. Before I get into that though, if you're new here, please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video from me. Alright, so it is time for another Panthoseeyeshadows eyeshadows project pan update. This was originally created by Alexi. She's not really making YouTube content anymore, but I will link her channel down below if you would like to check out her content. And since she's created this project, a lot of people have really taken it and ran with it and made it their own. And I did that this year as well. So I put together a list of prompts. On the spreadsheet that I linked down below, there will be one column with 100 prompts, and then the other one is the duplicate prompts removed. So I added in some duplicate prompts that I wanted to get potentially more than one time. If you don't want to do that, that'll be in the second tab. I believe it's the second tab. So yeah, that's the information about how I'm doing this project. I'm really enjoying it, picking these random prompts and then picking a shadow to go with it. It's just, I think it's made me much more successful in my project panning. So I'm really happy about that. I'm going to be continuing to do this next year. And if you want to join along, feel free to join along. I will link everyone down below who is participating along with me. If I'm missing you, please let me know and I will add you to the description box just so everyone can check anyone out who is enjoying this project pan. So let's hop into the updates. This is what oh, by the way, I'm still working with my artificial lighting setup. Usually, lately I've been filming with natural light, but today it's a little bit gloomy, so I don't know if my lighting's gonna turn out the best. Hopefully it looks okay, but I'm still kind of figuring out the artificial lighting setup. Anyway, this is the color story I was working on. So I have Squeak from Menagerie's Flight Club, West Coast from the At Foresight palette from ColourPop and Raw Beauty Christie, Precious Cargo from the ColourPop and Star Wars The Child palette, M51 from Terra Moons, and Leaf from the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. So starting right out with Squeak from the Fight Club palette. This was for the prompt Any Matte Shadow, and I picked Squeak and I made a bad decision. So I have only used this a total of 5 times in this project, which I looked back and that was in April. So I've decided I'm going to use a veto and veto this out because clearly I'm not enjoying panning this. I would much rather roll something else out and get more use on it than a shadow that I'm just kind of dragging along. And this Menagerie shadow is no joke. So I'm going to take this time to roll it out and roll something new in. Next up is West Coast, the gold from the At Foresight palette. And as of the last update, I had used it 5 times. I've used it 3 more times, and I am happy to report I have some nice big pan in this eyeshadow. Now, twice I used this shade as a liner. In my last update, I mentioned that I had a vision for this look, which was just the shade Emerald City, blended out all over the lid with West Coast mixed with Thoroline as a wing, and I really love how this look came out. I found Emerald City a little bit difficult to blend, particularly in the crease. It might be because this palette's getting older. It might have been just the shadow in general. I haven't touched Emerald City too much, but I absolutely love how the look came out, and I did film a reel which should be out on my channel already. I mean, it was a fairly simple look to put together, but if you're interested in seeing how I did it, I will have that reel linked down below, as well as just you can find it on my channel, or I guess YouTube short. I think I'm also going to post it on my Instagram though. Anyway, not the point of this video. So I did use this shadow twice to do this look. I did a practice run, and then I finally got around. I wanted to film it, and I figured I would do it for filming this video. So yeah, I definitely dug into it a little bit to bring up shadow to do with my Duraline liner, but I don't really mind doing that, especially for a ColourPop shimmer. I don't mind doing that as much as, say, like an indie shimmer or something more expensive. So really happy to have another pan in this palette. That is my third palette, or third pan in this palette. I'm really enjoying that this is looking a lot more love because I really do enjoy this palette. Next up, I had the prompt a ColourPop shimmer, and I chose one of the Super Shocks from the Child palette that ColourPop did with Star Wars. And I chose the shade Precious Cargo right here. And as you can see, I definitely have a dip forming, so I'm really hoping I can hit pan on it in the next month. This shade in particular is very firm. So it's not like super squishy like a traditional Super Shock would be. I'm enjoying using it. It's a nice inner corner shade, and I find that it works with a lot of looks. But I am excited to kind of hit pan on it and move on to something else. Next up, I had gotten the prompt never used, and so I chose one of my new Terra Moon's shadows, and I chose the shade M51, which I have used once. I'm gonna be really kind of careful, and this is what it looks like. And then swatched out, it is that one, that's Precious Cargo. I have to be really careful because when I went to swatch it for my arm swatch, it kind of like a big, like almost like just like segment of it kind of like lifted up. So I did press it back down, and I think it's okay. Depending on how the shadow kind of, if it does it again, like while I'm using it over the next month, I might roll this out prematurely, but I don't want it to like completely crumble apart. But we'll see how it goes in the next month. But this is a beautiful eyeshadow. It's very, very, very creamy. Very, very pretty, but creamy, but at the same time a little bit flaky. So it's just a little bit more challenging to use in that regard. I wish I used it more than one time, but like I've said in other videos, I was in kind of a bit of a makeup funk this week. So this month. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit of grace, and I think my numbers will be better next month. Finally, we have the shade Leaf from the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. That was for a shadow that starts with the letter W. There's this nice green down here. And I have used this twice. So it is this shade right here. I'm finding it has a little bit of a dip, but not too much. I find that this shadow is not as powdery, and I find it more pigmented than some of the other Beauty Bay shadows, so it's not going as fast as I thought it might, but I really, really like this nice, like kind of grungy green color. I think it's really, really, really nice, and I'm enjoying using it. I would like to use it a little bit more, and hopefully I can have pan on this shadow, and hopefully I can have pan on Precious Cargo. I don't think I'll have pan on M51, but hopefully I can have maybe 2 pans next month. So I'm going to be rolling in 2 new shades, one for the letter W, or one for West Coast and one for Squeak. I am going to put the prompt for this back into my spreadsheet because I didn't complete it. So I'm going to pull my spreadsheet up, and then I'll be right back to randomize the prompts. Okay, so I have 85 prompts left in my spreadsheet. I have prevented re-rolls and cleared my history, so let's roll 2 shadows. We've got 42 and 51. So 42 is a food-themed reference, and 51 is a shadow that starts with G. So I'm going to take a look at my shadows, figure out what I want to roll in. One of them will have to be a matte shadow, and I will be right back. All right, I am back. I've decided my 2 new shadows, and that was way more difficult than it should have been, but let's get into my picks. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the food-themed shadow, or a food reference. And I found that I don't have a ton in my collection, but I ended up choosing one from Menagerie, which I may regret. But this is from the Indigo Ink palette, and I ended up choosing the shade Nori. So it's this really bright green. I feel like it's going to complement some of the other shadows I'm working on really, really nicely. And I just love this palette as a whole. I find it to be really, really unique. And I'm really excited to get some use on this shadow. I have a feeling this will be a 20 use shadow because this shadow didn't seem as powdery as some Menagerie shadows can be. Granted, I was just using my finger, not a brush, but we will see. So because that one is a matte shadow, whatever I wanted to pick for the letter G, I could pick. And I found I don't have a ton of shadows that start with the letter G. And I narrowed it down to 4, and I couldn't decide, so I asked JV, my boyfriend, which shadow I should work on. And he ultimately chose one from this palette, which currently houses all of my Cleona shadows. I did purchase a stained glass palette with my order, so that will be its new home. But he picked the shadow right here, which is Grisaille. Now this one would be exciting if I could hit pan on it, but if by 20 uses I'm tired of it, then it'll roll out. But I am excited to start working on another Cleona shade. They're not easy to hit pan on at all, but I really, really love this color. So let me show you the swatches. So this is, I am the worst swatcher. This is Nori. I think it's gonna complement Leaf really, really, really well. And then this is Grisaille, which I cannot show you the shift that well. I don't know if you can see it, but I love Grisaille. It's probably one of my favorite Clionadh shadows. It's just so beautiful and sparkly, and I love it. So I am excited to work on that. Aside from Grisaille, I feel like they make a pretty nice color story. So I'm really excited to work on these eyeshadows. I'm excited to see what I hit pan on next. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you like down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!